Chapter 24. The Heart of Winter. Anderton Marina was a world caught in the grasp of winter. The canal lay still beneath a shimmering layer of ice, the boats nestled together like hibernating creatures. Emma leaned against the window of Serendipity, her hazel eyes tracing the faint patterns of frost etching the glass. The warmth from her stove wrapped around her like a comforting embrace, but there was a restlessness in her chest she couldn't quite shake. A sharp knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. She opened it to find Jack standing there, a woolen scarf wrapped tightly around his neck and a small basket in his hands. "Morning," he said, his breath puffing in the frosty air. "Thought you might fancy a bit of company. I brought breakfast." Emma smiled, stepping aside to let him in. "You always know the perfect timing, Jack." Inside, they shared a simple meal of fresh bread, butter and jam, the conversation flowing easily. Jack told her about his late-night attempts to mend a stubborn part of Lone Wanderer, while Emma laughed, recounting her failed attempt to bake scones the previous day. "Maybe we'll tackle the baking together next time," Jack offered with a grin. As they were finishing, John's voice called out from outside. "Are you two planning on hiding in there all day?" Emma opened the door to see the older man leaning on his walking stick, his silver hair gleaming in the weak sunlight. "I've got an idea, but it'll need both of you to help me." John's idea turned out to be a midwinter gathering for the Marina residents. "We could all use a bit of cheer," he explained as they stood by the wayfarer. "Nothing fancy, just some mulled cider, a few stories, and maybe a song or two." Emma's eyes lit up at the thought. "That sounds wonderful. What can I do to help?" John assigned her to decorating the small communal space near the cafe, while Jack offered to prepare firewood for an outdoor brazier. Over the next few hours, the marina came alive with quiet purpose. Emma gathered evergreen boughs and fairy lights, weaving them into simple garlands to hang along the railings. Jack, meanwhile, enlisted a few other residents to help chop wood and set up the fire. By the time evening fell, the marina had been transformed. The fire crackled warmly, its glow reflected in the icy canal. Residents gathered, bundled in thick coats and scarves, their laughter and chatter rising into the crisp night air. The scent of mulled cider mingled with the wood smoke, and Emma felt a surge of gratitude for this small, close-knit community. John took his place by the fire, his voice carrying the easy authority of a storyteller. He wove tales of the canals, of their history, their people, and the quiet magic they held. Emma listened, captivated as Jack handed her a steaming cup of cider. Their fingers brushed briefly, and she glanced up to see him smiling softly. When John's story ended, the crowd broke into applause. Someone began to sing a familiar folk song, and soon the group joined in, their voices blending in a warm, imperfect harmony. Emma found herself singing too, her heart lighter than it had been in weeks. As the gathering wound down, Emma and Jack lingered by the fire. "This was a good idea," she said, her voice thoughtful. "It was," Jack agreed. "But it was you who made it happen. You're good at bringing people together, Emma." She looked at him, surprised by the earnestness in his tone. "Maybe," she said softly. "But it feels like the canals have a way of doing that too." Jack nodded, his gaze distant. "You're right. The water connects us in ways we don't always understand." For a moment, they stood in silence, the firelight dancing between them. The cold seemed distant, and Emma felt a deep sense of peace settle over her. The canals, the boats, and the people, this life, were enough. More than enough. As the last of the residents drifted back to their boats, Emma walked slowly to Serendipity, the stars glittering above. She paused at her door, looking out over the marina. The frozen canal, the glowing fire embers, and the lingering sound of laughter were all reminders of the simple, profound beauty of her life here. Tomorrow would come with its own challenges, but tonight she felt content. The canals were her sanctuary, and she was exactly where she was meant to be.
Thank you for watching The Heart of Winter. If you enjoyed this chapter of Emma's Canal Chronicles, be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more peaceful journeys along the waterways. There's always another story waiting just around the bend. And if you love a good thriller, dive into the Evelyn March AI espionage series, where secrets unravel, danger lurks, and intrigue awaits. 5 thrilling audiobooks are already available, with more on the horizon. Discover them now at www.emonsserendipity.co.uk and enjoy storytelling wherever you go. See you next time for more reflections from the towpath.